Welcome to Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a weekly podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we discuss the history, facts, people, places, events, lots more surrounding Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Visit the website at hotspringsvillageinsideout.com. Today's show is brought to you by Central Arkansas's favorite radio station, KVRE. Find them on the dial at 92.9 FM. Stream them live at kvre.com. Happy New Year. Well, not yet, but it's close. It's coming really close. Yeah, it's coming really close. This is we've been planning this for a while, and we needed every day of the year to make this happen. And you know what? I should tell you what day it is. Yeah. Well, I just needed it's New Year's. It's New Year's Eve.
It's New Year's Eve.
Yeah, we're going to stick with New Year's Eve, and it is 206. It's 200, and we are 213 days old. Oh. HSV Inside Out is 213 days old as we hit the record button. So,
and over 1,500 people on that Facebook.
Yeah, 1,600 people. 1,600 people. The goal. Everybody listening to this, listen up. You need to tell your friends. We've got to get to 3,000 by the end of February. So we got, I would say, plenty of time, but don't sit idly by and do nothing. We need you to tell your friends. Now, we don't need you to just tell friends that have no interest in what we're doing here. People that are interested in Hot Springs Village need to know about this podcast, because Dennis and I are hearing from people. I mean, we're hearing from people that have been here a time or two. We're hearing from people that haven't been here at all. People from out of state and people that are now, this is on their radar. I get some of you, that's not what you want. You know, we want to keep this all to ourselves, but
shh, don't tell anybody.
Well, you know, come on. The place is, what have we said? The place is, it's 1/3 developed, plenty of room for people. It's not like we're going to have this influx of people. It's never going to be Austin, Texas, people. So let's get over it. So anyway, have you been? The coats made the appearance, so there's that.
Yeah. Well, see, this is a different coat. See,
I know how many of those. I know you wore the other coat earlier today because I saw it.
I was at the radio station.
What's that wardrobe look like? Like, how many of those are there?
I have 3. And so everybody who gives me grief about it, and the very first time I wore one on one of the Village Venues pages, I was just kind of joking off. I was like, okay, let's, just be funny and whatever. Lo and behold, the woman who loves me more than any others except my mother bought me 2 others. And I'm like, that's love right there. Let me ask it. Would Rhonda buy you these? No,
she would absolutely not buy me that because she knows I would never wear that. Come on, I'm a beanie and flannel guy, so
you know what this is?
I got the Seattle grunge rock look today.
You got it. You got the Kurt Cobain thing going on.
Yeah, well, let's not go there. Let's try Eddie Vedder or somebody that's
okay. Eddie Vedder, I'll take that. Well, I'll tell you what. I think this is a fantastic time. I always like the end of the year because I like to recap, and unfortunately, they always talk about the media always talks about the people who passed away this year and yada yada, and that's always a sad part. But I think we need to recap a year, Mr. Cantrell. And a year it has been. 200 and how many days ago? You said, hey. No, but how many days did you say, hey, would you be interested in doing a podcast?
Oh, well, that was, now you're going to go back to
spring.
Well, you're going to go back to when I first reached out to you because, you were so busy and so highfalutin you couldn't return the email. But
highfalutin, that's me. Well, you sent it to an email address I don't check very often, but that's there.
Yeah, well, how would I know? So I send Dennis an email. I'm thinking February-ish.
Probably so.
I'm thinking February-ish, late January. I send him an email, and it's a cold email. He has no clue who I am. And I send him an email that 2 or 3 paragraphs, short paragraphs, kind of telling him, here's who I am, here's what I'm thinking, here's why I'm wanting to do this, and would you be interested in talking to me about it? And it was probably, I want to say it was April before we kind of connected.
Yeah.
So we get on a Zoom. We agreed to have a Zoom call. We get on a Zoom call, and I don't know. I didn't get very far into it, and he's shaking his head like, yeah, he's in. And I'm sitting here thinking he doesn't even know what he's saying yes to yet, So here we are. Here we are. 213 days that from the time that we launched.
Yeah.
So there was a whole lot of stuff, before the story. And there was probably a good 6 months before I ever even crafted that email and sent to you. So I'd been thinking about this for a long, long time. And I've made no secret. It was fueled largely because there was just so much about the place that I didn't know and still don't know. And it's like every time I learn something, it's like, okay, well, that prompts more questions. And we've had some just, terrific people. You're going to hear next Friday. Yeah, next Friday. You got to, if you miss this show or if you click stop after I say this, then that's fine. But next Friday is absolutely, it's must see TV, as NBC used to say. Ernie Deaton is going to be on the show next Friday. That'll be January the 7th. And yeah, we're like, okay, well, we got to have this guy back. Who knows how many times?
Well, let's set the background. He did what? What did he do?
Well, when you're talking to somebody who says, yeah, we had these big earth movers and stuff, and we were afraid that salespeople, bringing people through the place, we didn't want one of these earth movers to run over them. What were the earth movers doing? The earth movers were building Lake Balboa. And you're like, wait a minute, what? Yeah.
And so for those of you that don't know, Ernie Deaton is a engineer, a very good engineer for Cooper, and he's worked in Bella Vista and Hot Springs Village. And his stories, Randy, and elsewhere. He noted to me in an email before we had chatted just a little because he didn't know what we were about. And we don't know, if he was going to be a good fit for the show. He noted that he had reviewed or personally seen over 5,000 properties. And the next show that we do, Randy, and I hadn't mentioned this to you because it was in one of his emails that I wanted to talk about. He boldly pronounced, and you can be kind of cocky when you're right, and I'll let him do this. He boldly pronounced that all these developments he had gone and looked at, they actually turned into places and cities and things, as opposed to a lot of other developments where they cut out where the roads were going to be and it never turned into anything. And Linda Mayhood, who we interviewed this last week, what was that? Just came out this last week. Linda had some of the best stories, but as we're interviewing her, we have her set up for another episode too, to follow. She was the assistant general manager for, a decade, I guess, or more, but she worked at the POA for 40 years and has an unbelievable list of stories to tell.
Starts out as an accounting clerk, ends up as kind of the chief operating officer of the place.
Yep, she does. And one of the things that hit me was the whole time she's telling this story, Randy, she talks about how the accounting division of the POA was actually in the Piggly Wiggly, where the Piggly Wiggly or the Dollar General is down on Park Street now. They didn't know it was going to make it. They didn't know that 50 years from now, it was not a certainty. This was not oh yeah, don't worry about it. She tells the early stories about salesmen coming to Chicago with shirts that had palm trees on it and coming in tropical jackets, and they're coming in out of the snow with parkas and whatever on because they're freezing in Chicago. But that kind of story, I mean, it's still not lost on me. I'm hearing that, and every time when I hear these, frankly, pioneers that are doing this, and I'm thinking, it didn't have to work out. This could have been.
No, and I knew we were onto something, when we're having, I don't remember the exact moment, but I remember thinking there were multiple times that we would have somebody on and they would tell some story. And here you are, kind of absolutely the resident expert. And I do mean expert, because Dennis has lived in the area forever and knows the place like the back of his hands, but that doesn't mean he knows every little detail about the history of Hot Springs Village. And I don't remember when it first was, but we have somebody on and they say something. It's really clear to me from looking at Dennis's face as we're recording, it's something he didn't know. And it's kind of cool that now we're both learning some things. I'm learning way more. The learning curve is really, really steep for me. And we're hoping to flatten that. We're hoping to flatten that for everybody that listens to the show, that watches the show. But that was the impetus for it, to learn more. And the more we're learning, the more I'm figuring out, okay, well, I don't even know the questions to ask anymore.
We were sitting at the Beehive the other night, and one guy was asking me where the water comes into the lakes, and it goes from DeSoto to Cortez to and in Lago. And I said, no, it doesn't go into Lago. It goes around Cortez and goes back into the Middle Fork. And these are people that had lived here for decades. And I'm thinking, yeah, I may be wrong, or they may be wrong, or there's always something to learn. By the way, we had, he hadn't released yet. Jason he'll be out by the time. No,
Jason will be out the following week. Jason will be out on, no, let's see. I'm lying. Jason will be out he'll be out Tuesday. He'll be, what is that going to be, the 4th?
I'm doing what you asked me not to do, and that's my apologies. For people that are listening in Scandinavia, Jason Temple is a certified civil engineer. He is a fantastic guy, driven to give us great service, and does so, runs the water plant. He's the operations manager now. And from the trash pickup to you name it, this guy is in charge of it and on it. And he's serious about it. It's not just kind of, well, we're going to stagger in off the street and see what happens.
Both of those are next week. Jason comes out Tuesday the 4th, and then Friday is Ernie Deaton. So, yeah, next week is going to be, it's a good week. That's going to be a hard week. So the bottom line is a hard week to beat, but it is the first week of 2022, so we kind of wanted to do it that way.
So the bottom line is this show is junk, but these next two coming up, they're great.
No, we kind of like to give it our best effort and come out of the gate strong, and then just kind of peter out as the year goes along.
Yeah, that's how we do. Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're doing next. Yeah, it's going to be they were both great, and even an OU guy's not going to hold the fact that Jason went to Texas A&M against him. So
nobody's going to hold that against him.
Now he will. Listen, when you're an engineer, they're not going to hold that against you. So
no. And I tell you what, and I want to just make this general statement now. These people are a delight, and we'll reach out to them and say, hey, can we talk about so and so? These people may or may not know us from Adam's House Cat, and they're so gracious. Well, tell me what you want to ask about, and what would we talk about? And when we don't want to know the answers, we'll just say, well, what about the trash can rollout? What about the pickup? What about the changes? What about blah, 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 blah? And every person we've talked to, when you say Randy, has been very, very gracious with their time.
Yeah, well, the ones that aren't, we don't publish those. So
no, we don't do that.
There haven't been any of those.
I will say, and I'll tell you what's in the works that we haven't gotten lined up yet. The fine folks from Connect to First, which is the company that is running the fiber and will be connecting the fiber to Saline County back that way. And man, you haven't seen it, Randy, but they are running fiber like crazy. I guess I saw 5 or 6 trucks at 3 or 4 different locations yesterday, and they were laying it down now. They were putting the fiber up. So that's going to be a game changer, a real game changer. Speaking of game changer and recapping a year, we went from inside out to inside. Is that what happened?
Yeah, well, and that show was last Friday. That show was Christmas Eve, the Christmas Eve show. So if you missed the live stream, that's fine. Go back to last Friday. Yeah, it's not a new resident, but a new property owner in the village. His hand's in the air. And I did check, by the way, that fiber's going there. I plugged in that address before I ever said, yeah, tell me about this piece of property. So you can go back. We're not going to recap it here, but yeah, Ron and I made an investment inside the village, and that show aired last Friday. So there's that.
Let's recap. Who did we start with, Randy? Who did we start with? It was us rambling about.
Joseph Stansel was right up front.
Beta 001.
I could be wrong. I'm thinking he was.
No, he was. He was our first guest right out of the gate.
I think he was. Now runs the help me.
The Blue Elephant.
There you go.
And not longer after that, we had Greg with Explorer Lakeside, with the Explorer Restaurant Group.
You're going to start going through it, and now we're going to have to name everybody that we've ever had. Somebody's going to get hacked off. No. And I don't remember. I don't remember everybody.
I don't either.
But we can pull the curtain back a little bit. The thing started out, Dennis largely answering a lot of my questions. We did a couple of 360 shows. We had to break it down into 2 because there was just so much of, if you do a 360 view of Hot Springs Village, okay, what are some pretty good destinations outside the village? And so
within an hour.
Yeah, so we did that. We did the history show. And when this started out, it was, I don't know. I mean, we didn't know what we were going to do. We just kind of started and launched, and a lot of it was organic. A lot of it was due to you, thanks to you, to inviting people to be on the show, and started building a little community that, it's still kind of the little community that can. And so we encourage you to join the Facebook group. It's funny. Every day I get 2 or 3 people that want to be in that private Facebook group. So I start a Facebook group. I don't know. I set the settings to private. I don't know. I'm not thinking. The only groups I've ever run were private groups, which all private means is everybody else can't see it.
Until you're a member. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's public, you can see it, but it doesn't mean you're inside. And so it's like, well, I don't know. Do we want this to be public or private? And we're like, let's make it public. Okay. The problem, we had 30, 40 people. In Facebook, you can't make a private group public. Okay. Stands to reason, because everybody would have to say yes. They all agree to be in a private group. So it's like, okay, so I start another group. And I keep getting people that want in, and I'm like, how do you even find this thing? Now in some cases you were inviting people to the wrong group, but that was very early on.
But let's split hairs. Hot Springs Village Inside Out, all spelled out. That's the private group. HSB, like on your cap right now,
correct,
Inside Out is the public group.
Yeah, because I couldn't name it the same name, because that name had been taken. So
who took it? Who could have taken it? What I could have
done is I could have shut the thing down, but I'm like, I don't want to lose Hot Springs Village. I don't want to lose Hot Springs Village Inside Out. So no. I don't know. I don't claim to be a Facebook group expert, clearly, but at any rate, we would love to have you in the public group. And it's fun. It's fun. And there's increasingly more and more participation, and most everybody's behaving. I've only had to mute a couple of people.
99.9%.
And I do mean a couple of people.
Literally.
Yeah, well, sometimes people can't help themselves. They have to misbehave. And Sandy, if you go there at the very top, you'll see Sandy. Sandy, she keeps control of the whole place. So there's a cartoon at the top that'll show you what Sandy will do if you misbehave. So all you got to do is knock on the door, and we'll let you in, and we'll let you stay as long as you behave. Everybody behaves. Everybody
does behave, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so it started out with that. It started out with the history, and which is why, for me, the name Inside Out, because our first trip there to right where Dennis is at right now, the bedroom suite below him, Rhonda and I rented there on Lake DeSoto, and we went to Petit Jean, we went to Ouachita State Park, so we went to these places outside the village. If there was a trail that we could find that we knew about, we walked that inside the village, and we went outside. So I was smart enough to know there's a whole lot just, within spitting distance outside the gates. And I was interested in that too, because I haven't spent a whole bunch of time in Arkansas. I'm an Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana kid, but I'd come to Little Rock a few times, gone to Fort Smith a few times, been up in the Rogers area but I don't know the place. I didn't know the place. I just knew that we came there, fell in love with it, and I'm like, yeah, I like this place a lot.
Well, I realize what I take for granted. Number one, I'm watching a beautiful sunset over the lake right now. But number two, I took for, with this last summer, we went to LA for a couple of weeks, and caught a cruise ship and went down to south and blah, 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 blah. And you know me, Randy, I take my cute little puppy with me about everywhere. He was at the Christmas party today. And Scraps, that was a refugee from the Home Plate Cafe, another guest that we had on the screen, Jim and Andrea, who were wonderful folks. But I realized that without a qualm, I can put Scraps in the car, drive virtually anywhere in the national forest, drive virtually anywhere in the state park, drive virtually anywhere within 2 hours of here. And I may or may not take a dog bowl. And you think, well, where are you going with this, Dennis? I may or may not take a dog bowl, but I guarantee you inside that hour or even 5 minutes
You
from
don't
here,
even have to. You don't even have to have food for this dog if you take him around enough places.
that's true too. That's true too. But what I was going to say is, Randy, and I think this is one of the things that fixate you: the creeks, the streams, the bubbling brooks. They're everywhere, and we
Oh,
just
well, I
take
was
for
thinking
granted.
about all the people that clamor over this critter. I was thinking about all the people that give the beggar snacks and whatever. Okay.
And I told people,
Yeah, well,
when I tell people we got him from the home plate, and people say, "Oh, I fed that dog a hot dog. I gave some steak left over. No wonder he doesn't like his dog food. It's you people's fault. It's your fault.
he's hooked on human food.
Cooked on human food." Randy, let's talk a little bit about the future.
All right.
What do you want to say?
I've got another, and it went live today, and I'm not hawking it, but I do another podcast, kind of a hobby podcast. Well, that's how this one started, leaning toward wisdom. And I told that group, I'm the word I came up with was pre-reflection. I won't go into it here, but it sounds odd. And I wrote that word down, hyphenated, pre-reflection, because it's really what we're doing. Right. I mean, we're looking at 2022, and we're inserting ourselves in these situations that we haven't been in before. This podcast didn't exist 213 days ago. We have yet to experience what day 214 looks like. I'm 64 in 2022. I'll turn 65. You could have asked me as a 20-year-old, okay, what's it going to look like at 64? I could have thought about it. I could have projected and kind of anticipated. Would I have been right? I don't know. But we have the ability to do that as humans, to insert ourselves in situations and circumstances that we have not yet been in. And the interesting thing to me, cognitive experts and neuroscience experts, that feeling and the way that your brain lights up when you're thinking about it and believing it looks identical to you really experiencing it, which is interesting to me. So I'm looking at 2022, and, I don't know. I know that it's going to afford Rhonda and me some opportunities. We're just kind of at that phase of life that everybody talks about retirement. Well, I ain't going to retire. I'm going to work till I die. It's a good thing. I mean, I need to, so there's that. But I would anyway. I'm not financially independent, so there's that. But I don't know. Hot Springs Village is front and center. I can tell you that. The place is really front and center for us to figure out, okay, now what? So now we got this lot, and that we weren't planning on ending the year on that note. So thanks to Dennis and the good deal that he gave us on a piece of property that we both are pretty nuts about. That was kind of a little bit of a curveball. We weren't planning on that.
I could have saved that lot till next year. I mean, I didn't.
Yeah,
mention
well,
it till
you saved it long enough. I thought he sent us all over creation looking at other stuff before he shared that one with us. And yeah, I told Rhonda we got out of the car. I said, okay, he's been holding out on us.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah,
we absolutely, we get 30 feet into this thing. It overlooks Lake Lago. We're 30 feet into the thing, kind of at the crest and looking down. And Rhonda looks back at me and she says, well, I like this better than anything we've looked at. I like this a lot. I'm like, yeah, I like this a lot too. So anyway, we kept spending some time. Again, go back to last Friday's episode if you want to see the recording of the live stream that we did shortly after we pulled the trigger on that. But yeah, the village absolutely is. And come on, you know me, I'm the optimist. You are too, which is why I think this partnership works. And it's why the podcast, I think, works. We're not sitting here trying to be the investigative journalist and uncover anything and everything. We're just, we love the place. So I don't know. The village is front and center. I'm optimistic. I'm probably like everybody else. I mean, here we are in a day and age, the COVID numbers are spiking. People are panicked out of their minds in some places. I don't know. There's uncertainty. there's always uncertainty.
There's always uncertainty.
This year, I don't know that this year's any different than that.
Mr. Rohn used to always say, a motivational speaker that Randy and I both listened to. And by the way, if you pick two people out of a crowd and you set them side by side and you wanted them to be a lot alike, you would have trouble, a lot alike, highly compatible. And I want to make note. I'm going to show you the men behind the screen. Randy, when was the last time you and I had an argument where we sincerely disagreed or raised our voices or whatever?
Never. And it's never going to happen either.
We don't have a need to. We see the world the same way pretty much. So,
well, I mean, number one, there's not, and it's not that we're conflict adverse. I think we're both pretty passionate and willing to stand our ground, and we don't agree on everything, but you know, there's enough mutual respect and care and concern. The word that comes to my mind is acquiesce. I mean, I think we're happy to acquiesce. We're happy to acquiesce to one another. I just don't see that changing because it's just kind of who we are.
No. Well, and one of the things I was hinting about is for 2022.
But I don't ever want to see that jacket here again. I'm kidding.
Hang on. I've got another one that I think is just really, I wore this one.
Oh, I know. I saw it.
Yeah, this is the red. I thought this might be more holiday. It looks more holiday to me.
Well, no? It doesn't matter.
Those of you that are listening have no idea what I'm talking about. But
that's why you need to watch the video.
That's why you need to watch it. Say? No, I was just going to say 2022 is going to be a blowout year for Airbnb, for Hot Springs Village Inside Out. I can promise you that. I think we and you know what, it's time that we.
Well, but it's these folks that are watching and listening. I mean, that I know it can sound patronizing, but trust me when I tell you, as a person that has been podcasting for well over 20 years, it's not patronizing at all. You know, Dennis and I can get up and we can have Zoom conversations just like we're having right now without you.
And we do.
But that's not Hot Springs Village Inside Out.
No.
You know, Hot Springs Village Inside Out is the people that give us their time and attention. And you give us your time and attention because you care about the same place we care about. Yeah, we hope that we know that we're hokey. Come on, we're not professionals. We're just two guys, you know, sitting in our spaces with microphones trying to bring some information and hopefully, you know, a chuckle here or there, a smile here or there. You know, some of the subjects they're serious. Next Tuesday, you're going to see Jason, and that show's going to start out talking about the trash pickup. You know, there's this big initiative, this big thing happening, and it's not a small thing. We can take for granted we roll our trash can out to the street, they pick it up, they take it, and that's fine. Okay, but that's just that part of the story. You know, Jason, as director of public works, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and you know, so Jason, he talks about some of those. Okay, well, I'm sorry, but trash pickup is just not a yuck it up moment. You know, so we've got those, but we also want to be somewhat easy to listen to. You know, we don't want to grate on your nerves or anything, but without the crowd, without the audience, without people that are willing to give us their time and attention, none of this happens. Just none of this happens.
Well, let's talk about the people who have given us their time and attention, and that is the fine folks at KVRE Radio.
Yep.
I think we need to bring that up. It's time to tell. We've had a lot of things going on in the background we haven't really been able to share, but the fact that KVRE Radio is a media sponsor, and you'll see them on our page, and I cannot blow them up enough. These are wonderful people who are hugely community-minded. The only radio station licensed just to the village, and they are located in the village. They're not down the road broadcasting back at us. They're in the DeSoto Center, literally about 2 miles down that way. Sincerely and genuinely great people. At the Christmas party today, actually, that was with the red jacket and all that, I had a moment to sit around and look and reflect and realize I love the sales.
The Christmas party was last week, but.
Oh, that's right. It was last week. But today, when we recorded it, it was
everybody. Everybody knows we're recording ahead of time.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but
when this comes out, I'm there.
Yeah, you are.
What pre-reflection looks like. You reflect back on something as though it historically is true, but it hasn't yet happened.
I like that pre-reflection.
Go figure that out.
Oh no, here in that case, I remember last week when I was at the Christmas party today.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Did I word that?
That's how a professional would do it. Go ahead. So at the Christmas party, what happened?
No, I was just looking around and realized I love everybody there. The salespeople, the staff, the techs, the front office ladies, I mean, you name it, because it's in a place that the description or the parallel has been made to Mayberry before, and that fair or not or whatever. You do pretty much know everybody, and you're going to live in that environment. I'm not going to pull out in front of you and cut you off, because I'm going to run into you at the grocery store next week, or I'm going to be next door to you, or I'm going to, you have a tighter sense of community. And Randy, I'll reflect back on this. You did a fantastic show about growing up in a big town and wanting to move to a small town. And I think that we see that's been a huge trend. And just make a comment as we're discussing here. A lot of people talk about people leaving California and coming to Texas and coming to other areas. And there's
which
no
is why
question.
I'm coming to Arkansas.
That you took my lightning. And I was just going to say, because a lot of people are coming to Texas, a lot of Texans are going, what's over? Oh, look, they got mountains and trees.
Well, the funny thing is there's an awful lot of folks in California that their grandparents were the ones that left Oklahoma to go to California because the conditions were so dire. It's kind of funny. 2 generations later, the migration's happening in the opposite direction. But well, and back to KVRE, to pull the curtain back even more, Dennis and I, because of the audience, there have been, there've been, I'll call them overtures. There've been way more than overtures, but a number of people who've been interested in sponsoring the show and whatnot. And we're no. And it's not that we're averse to that, because we're both capitalists to the core, but just, not ready yet. And so Dennis and I huddled, and we knew, a media partner's that's step one. And KVRE was, they were interested from the get-go. We want to help them. They want to help us. We're really after the same thing. We're going at it from two different angles. The good news is we're both audio, so that's kind of a cool thing. So there's big synergy there. So yeah, I'm pumped about it. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for them. It's a big deal for us. It's a big deal for you, the audience. So yeah, I'm excited about it. It's a great way to start the year off. That's for sure.
It is. Can we talk about probably what's going to happen on a Saturday morning shortly?
Sure.
So typically, and this is not written in stone at all in any way, but Tuesdays we release a show that's mostly human interest. One of our great shows was Erin Kelly, the office manager at Village Chiropractic. Fantastically sweet lady, lovely lady.
And that hasn't been strategic. It's just kind of worked out that way. Although next week throws a wrench in that, because
that was one of the reasons why I said it's not exactly. Yeah. But overall Tuesdays are and the holidays messed that up. But Tuesday has typically been a human interest. How did you get here? What's it like? What's a single mom do in the village? Yeah. What's a couple from Lindy and Gavin?
And it's highly likely to be somebody that most of the people in the village don't know, haven't heard. But we're not highbrow. I mean, come on, obviously, look at the man's jacket.
If you haven't figured that out yet, you're listening to the wrong program, look at this, right?
The grunge outfit and the jacket can tell we're not highbrow.
A little bit of contrast.
Well, I'm not putting these people down. They know how I mean it. I mean it effectively. Come on, we're nobody. Yeah. But these are interesting stories. These are for us. And we want to try to make them as compelling as we can. But everybody that comes to the village has got a story. So keep going. So that's typically, if we can. That now is organically what we've tried to engineer the Tuesdays to be.
Yeah, and let's give another Tuesday example. Gary Mouton across the lake building his new home, the first house on this lake.
Come on, Gary's a rock star. I mean, Gary's building an awesome house on the lake there. So,
and the first house,
Lindy and Gavin, but I'm sorry, Gary's got you beat.
I'm afraid he does. If you had the first house on Hot Spring on Lake DeSoto in 41 years, we're going to go to you, you know. But that said, Fridays have typically been a little, and I use the word higher profile. John Paul did a fantastic show with us and has agreed to come on again now at this date and time, for whatever you were saying it was a minute ago. The bottom line is that we do have a new POA director, a POA general manager that's been selected, and hopefully we'll be talking with him very soon. We've actually got feelers.
John Paul's got to get the air. He's got to get the airtime before the title goes away, and we're like, okay, we're not interested anymore.
Yeah, we're kidding. I'm kidding. Kick you to the curb. That's what we do. We're that kind of people. No, we'll be interviewing John Paul for a long time, I can tell you. But typically, back to my point, Tuesdays are usually human interest. Friday is a little higher profile. It's somebody a lot of people know, Ricky Middleton at the police chief, or you know, we're actually talking to some senators and some other people lined up. That's going to be our big deal. We're going to take the Friday show.
No, we're not getting political, by the way.
No, you don't have to worry about that. You do not have to worry about that. The only reason we're talking to the senators is because we want to ask how the village has impacted the state and what they see and blah, 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 blah. We had some other guests have already given us some great feedback about that. So one thing leads to another, as it does. And in saying that one thing leads to another, since KVRE is which is Village Radio Entertainment, kvre.com, streaming live, as Tracy would say, not streaming dead, streaming live, is going to host our show on Saturday mornings. So we will be a podcast, an audio podcast, a YouTube video, and we will have a Saturday morning radio show. And if I can't tell you, we are excited about this. This is a game changer for everybody.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to possibly offering some remotes and getting some talent fee or something.
Talent fee.
I'm kidding.
Who would we pay for the talent? Because it ain't us.
That's exactly right. That's the problem. No, it's super. It's super, super cool. Boy, and you talk about something that nobody's got to say yes to anything, right? But the fact that a media partner like that sees the value in what we're doing, yeah, there's no question. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like, okay, we're kind of onto something here. We're trying to do something, and we're able to do stuff in long form that just doesn't translate. You know, just doesn't translate to radio formatically. I'm not saying that they can't do it, but say here in DFW, you're going to hear it, and it's going to be at dog hours. You know, it's going to be somebody that they talk about something, and they've got an hour, and they can kind of go in depth, and it's never going to be in prime time. They didn't have to do it. That's my point. They didn't have to recognize us. They didn't have to recognize that there's something that we can bring to the party that can be beneficial for them, and it certainly is reciprocal. So the synergy is really, really good, though, and I can tell you, I mean, I didn't see that coming a million miles away. I mean, back in February when I'm writing this email to you, you know, I told Dennis straight up, I'm not looking to make money. I'm looking to start something because I love this place, and I'm kind of sick of some of the negativity that I'm seeing in social media, and I want to shine a bright light on this place that's to die for, and so here we are.
It's been a whale of a year, my friend.
Yeah, well, the last 6 months for sure. You know, the last 213 days for sure. So it's a little more than 6 months. I've had podcasting friends, you know, that have asked me, because I let a few folks know in the podcasting circles that I've made over the last 2 decades. And everybody knew I kind of wanted to do something that was, I called it hyper niche-y. And there are a ton of, that's the great thing about podcasts. I don't care what you're interested in. Do a search and put podcast behind it, and you'll find somebody podcasting about it, which is pretty stinking terrific, you know, because some people are into some really niche kind of hobbies. I was telling Dennis about, you know, a fellow that's got a number of podcasts, and they're all about horses. Well, there's a lot of people that love horses. There's a lot of people that raise horses and ride horses and race horses and stuff to do with horses. And so, you know, if you want that kind of stuff, man, this guy's got shows to die for. I'm not a horse guy. I've owned horses when I was a little kid and had horses, but that's the great thing. And I wanted to do something that was, I don't know, for this, I wanted to do something hyper local. And this is clearly hyper local. I mean, it's Hot Springs Village. That's it. And it's inside out because, yeah, we are interested in these places, but Hot Springs Village is, it's the hub. It's the epicenter of the whole thing. And that small town episode that I did is absolutely spot on for me, at least. I've grown up in concrete and asphalt, you know, and there are parts about concrete and asphalt I'm happy about and I love. I'm just at a stage of life where, yeah, I need more of that. I did a conversation at Leaning Toward Wisdom with a buddy of mine from the UK, Frank Watkinson,
which is world class. I'm going to plug you. No, this was awesome. I'm gonna
hawk Frank. If you just do, you won't find a website. Frank's got a YouTube channel. He's got 405,000 subscribers, and Frank does covers. He does them with an acoustic guitar. Now, the one that got him a lot of notoriety is he does a Slipknot cover. I can see all the older folks going, Slipknot? What? Never heard of Slipknot. Yeah, well, when Frank does a cover, you could go and listen to the original and listen to Frank, and you're like, well, that he didn't cover that. Yeah, the lyrics are the same, and the tune is kind of sort of the same. Anyway, he's brilliant. Frank is a guy in the UK, lives in the middle part of the country, and he loves to go to York. York is about 2 hours away. York is up in northern England, and he loves York. And, you know, the moors, and it's country. And Frank hates London. He doesn't live near London, but he's not a London kind of a guy. And he could travel just minutes and be, as he puts it, he could be in Meadows and whatnot. And so we're having this conversation. I release it over there, and he knows about my love of Hot Springs Village. So I will send him pictures that I take of Hot Springs Village. He sends me pictures when he goes up to York. Now, COVID has kind of shut him down, but he did go in the last 6 months or so. He went up to York and spent a week or so, and, you know, he's sending me all these pictures, and I'm sending him pictures of Hot Springs Village, you know. So you got two old guys, an ocean apart, who are going to these places that they love. And Frank says in that interview, in that conversation, you know, he said, it's good for our health. And it is. It's absolutely good for our health. And that's my goal. That's my goal for 2022 for the podcast. I want the podcast to be good for your health.
I love that, Randy. I really do. I wanted to make a note. You brought this up a little earlier, that, you know, when you think of something or you envision something like that, it gives you that same feeling as if you were already doing it. Right. I always thought for years, that's the only reason in my mind why the lottery works. Why would you buy $5 worth of lottery tickets when it's 1 billion to 1?
But there's another little thing called greed.
Well, there is greed
and covetousness. So
but you know what people do? You know what people do? They buy a ticket and they walk out the door, and for $5 they go, man, if I won this, I would. Now, in my personal opinion, I think they have some harebrained ideas of what they would do with the money. That's just my personal opinion. Money and happiness. I'm
going to get that big oversized check. That's what they're going to come to my door.
Yeah, they're not doing that anymore. Yeah, I don't know if you know that.
That disappoints me. Thanks for bursting my bubble. Well, that depresses me mightily. I was expecting that tomorrow. I was expecting them to knock on my door with that big check, and I'm like, yes. Now I'm in Hot Springs Village way quicker than I thought I would be.
So you're telling me you've been buying thousands of magazines over the last 20 years?
No, I haven't been buying anything, just entering like a mad dog. You know, trying to figure out a program I could work that can hit that enter now or submit entry button, so I don't have to scroll through all the stuff that you buy it for $4 a month for
exactly, or go through the it used to be you had 22 pages of stickers and you had to find the one right in the middle that says contest entry before you put it on the card.
Oh, my dad did that. You know,
are you serious?
Oh yeah. I'm so glad we're in a digital age, because I wouldn't want to have to do. Well, I probably wouldn't do all of that. Oh yeah, but. No, I understand your point, though. I mean, I get a lot of it's dreaming. You know, I don't feel like I'm dreaming. I'm not dreaming about next year. man, I hope if you're listening to us and watching us, I hope you're not just dreaming about next year.
Yeah.
Because I mean, short of investing or throwing your money away in a lottery ticket or gambling, hoping that something works out. I don't know. Hope's a bad strategy,
Well, but
I mean, let's couple it with some meaningful action so that we can at least improve our odds. Doesn't mean you'll make it, but you can at least give it a
Randy,
shot.
I think you're just a little bit off kilter.
Let's hear it.
There are, and I mean this in every bit of love, there are hundreds of people listening right now.
Yeah.
And we are their lottery dream. The village, what you just did, Randy, what you just bought a lot, that's their village dream. I've lived here and around this area my entire life.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that.
You get my drift?
Yeah.
I've lived in this entire area my entire life. I would drive out here 20 years ago, and if you can see some of the lights behind me on the lake, it is stinking gorgeous, as a friend of mine says. And I remember driving from here to Little Rock, which is about an hour. I had a beautiful home over the mountains, over the river. It looked great. It was nice. I remember driving out of here and looking in people's windows and going, man, they get to stay here. I could stay here. I could move here. And the vast majority, there's two kinds of people that listen to this podcast, people that are here and people that want to be. Because if you're not one of those two, I don't know what you're listening to us for. Am I right?
Well, because we're that riveting, probably.
Well, that's true. Not everybody has this much entertainment value.
I agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying that there's a difference in sitting around on your sofa hoping that you're going to win the lottery.
Oh, no,
versus,
yeah.
I didn't, that kind of dreaming is what I'm talking about. And the people that are listening to us, I think are more people we're hearing from them.
Yeah.
I mean, you're hearing from somebody in California and they've got a place and they want a place there and they've got pretty specific ideas of what they want. They understand that they are in an economy in California where they can sell their home and come to Arkansas and get so much more for their money. And if they want the mansion, literally they can have the mansion. Okay, well, that's not my circumstance or situation. Good thing, because that's not my dream either. That's not my goal. That's not my ideal outcome. My ideal outcome is having a place there. And Ron and I are pretty simple people. Here in 2 days, we're celebrating 44 years together. So there's that.
Congratulations, my friend.
Thanks.
Seriously.
But I'm saying that the dream has fueled the decision making and the action.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say this as a person who's living it myself. So we pull the trigger on this lot, and I tell Rhonda, I'm thankful that we can do this. I mean, I'm thankful that we can write a check for this amount and send it. And, and we're not having to skip meals to do it. I'm not saying everybody can do that. And it was a good amount, but it wasn't, we didn't buy some insanely priced lot. Dennis cut us a really good deal. He didn't have to. He could have held on to it and likely gotten considerably more. So he was gracious to us and we had the capacity. And I'm sitting here having this conversation with Rhonda, reminding her, there's a lot of people that would absolutely, they would die to be able to do what we just did. And that's not lost on me. I don't yet know how you can leverage what you don't have. We can all fixate on what we don't have. There's all kinds of things I don't have. There's all kinds of talents and abilities and qualities and traits that I don't have. There's all kinds of physical things I don't have, but I can't leverage those things. Well, I didn't have a lot. Here's what I could do. I could leverage the fact that I desperately want to be inside Hot Springs Village. I want to be able to spend a considerable amount of my life inside the village. And like Frank Watkinson, my UK buddy, said, this is for our health. And it is. And not just mental, not emotional, but spiritual as well.
Yeah.
And frankly, reverse those. Put the spiritual one up front for me. Okay, well, I get where there's a will, there's a way. That's not always true. But the village is such a diverse place. And in spite of the current economy, there's still price points to be had. If I've got a modest amount of money, I could get inside the village. If I've got a lot of money, it's easier, no question. But it's still such a gorgeous place, and such a, I don't know, and it's still got such a great vibe about it. And for a city guy who didn't grow up in a place like that, it's just, yeah, as you quote me often, it's pretty stinking cool.
It is pretty stinking cool.
Yep.
I will make note. I want to, because I know what's going through people's minds, and I'll ask real quick just to throw it out. From the POA, you can buy an interior lot for $4,000. I don't know of any major municipality in the United States that has the lowest crime that we have, that has water, power, sewer, lights, cable, phone, and everything at your door.
And for people that are listening that aren't all that familiar with the village, by interior lot, you mean?
I mean a lot that is not on a golf course. It's not on a lake. It does not have a view. It's just a nice, what you would call a suburban lot. Now, if you want something,
a nice wooded lot.
Yeah, a nice wooded lot.
It gets high dollars in the city.
Yeah, well, I remember living in Maumelle, which is a little suburb of North Little Rock. The next door lot to me was $26,000 and didn't have water, power, sewer, lights. I'd have to run it to connect. And you can buy one for $4,000, and we have 13% of the national crime rate, and the POA dues are $60 a month. Really? And then that's why when you say the people from California come in and go, holy guacamole.
Yeah.
I will say this. The retail on I think one of the gym lot, the lot you bought, the retail would be less than $30,000 if you wanted a dream lot, and got a significant deal over that. But my point being, it's not what you think it is. It's not as expensive as it might be. We think it's astronomical that some of the new home construction prices here, with timber prices as they are and labor issues as they are and whatever, we think it's unbelievable that the prices are getting up to $175 a foot. Now in California, you couldn't buy a mobile home for $175 a foot.
No.
So
no. Well, my only point is whatever your budget is, if you wanted to be in the village, you can be there. Now, you may not want to enough. I get it. That's up to you. But this is not country club central.
No, yeah, that's what I was trying to get
at. If you want that, it's available.
Mm-hmm.
There's places where that you could live that lifestyle, and that's great for the people that want that. I can't afford it, but even if I could afford it, it's just probably not where I'd want to be anyway. But I'm not a golfer either.
Well, and they have their own they have their own tennis courts and pool and all that. But there is a country club inside the village, for what it's worth. The POA dues here are $60. The POA dues there are $680. So fill in the blank. And on one side of the street it's $60. On the other side it's nearly $700. A lot of people decide to be on this side.
It keeps people like us out.
Yeah, it keeps the riffraff like us out. Yeah, it does.
So
hey, listen, I know we need to wrap up. You people that are listening or watching, you are more than gracious, and sincerely, none of this would be possible. We would not have a partnership with KVRE. We would not be exploring other avenues that we're doing right now with other sponsorships. This wouldn't even be a discussion had this not been for the phenomenal success of you, our listeners.
Well, and the interesting thing is that there are people that are clamoring, might be a little too strong, but it's close. That there are organizations, companies that are kind of clamoring to be part of this. And the only reason that they're doing that is because they're seeing that this thing's resonating with some people. Yeah. There's some people that are attracted to this and that kind of like what we're doing. And that's, I don't know. I'd love to tell you I saw that coming, but I didn't. I wasn't looking that far. I was just looking to have my own answers, my own questions answered. Was really
not in a million years. This week, after 6 months, I had my second set of house plans emailed to me with people asking my opinion about their house plans. I do not recommend that.
No, I started saying, what are these people thinking?
The wonderful folks, I'm not going to mention any names, wonderful folks. And what they're saying is that we're thinking about a house plan like this. I, like you, Mr. Cantrell, I am a flip-flopper. And my point is, don't be picking your house plans until you know where you're going to build it. Find a lot. Find some place you love. And as we said in the other show,
and then don't send your plans to Dennis and ask
heck no.
these are the plans. Yeah.
Does this look like a builder to you? No. I will give you my advice or what little I can, but we're working on that. But I will say, I wanted to pull something, and I don't think Jason would mind. We many times we interview people, 99% of the time we interview people, and when we hit the record button and we record, and that session is not pre-planned, it's not scripted. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. We typically don't know. We'll say, okay, we want to talk about trash cans, and that's it. We don't want to hear the rest of it. But we let the tape roll. We let the Zoom continue many times. We just keep talking to people because they're interesting people, with Linda, with everybody. And Jason told a story, I guess it was yesterday or day before, that I don't think he would mind me sharing, but it kind of hit me between the eyes.
You're scaring me.
You shouldn't be scared at all, my friend.
It comes out Tuesday. The show comes out Tuesday.
And he did not cover this in the show.
Okay.
But as the director of operations, I'm
really nervous.
You're fine. Okay. He gets a lot of, frankly, criticism or a lot of comments.
No.
Yeah, I know. Who knew? And he was in a meeting, and one of the guys was just tearing him up. And he walks outside, one of the other guys in the committee, you know which one I'm talking about now. And the guy comes up and goes, they were kind of rough on you, weren't they, Jason? And he goes, well, you weren't exactly passing out marshmallows, And he said, let me explain something to you. He said, that guy in there, he worked his entire life and he worked hard, and he's now in retirement. And he's maybe got 20 years, maybe 15, maybe 10. And he wants every day to be perfect. And as he sees it, you just messed up one of his days. And I remembered hearing that story from Jason, who I'm sure, there's nothing telling in that or whatever, except to notice you don't have to be retired. You don't have to be 20 years yet to live. Don't waste one of your days. don't waste one of your days if you think it's wasted.
It doesn't matter who you are,
Yeah, listening to us or whatever. Yeah, if you think we're a waste of time, don't do it.
You're not. Well, you're not wasting your time listening to us. You got to keep doing that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Duh. But it just dawned on me.
There's no doubt some truth to that, for sure.
There's some merit to that. And my friend, I tell you this with all love and sincerity, I plan on spending ever more days with you than we can.
Yeah. No, listen, for two guys. And this will be my dismount. Yeah, for two guys at 213 days ago, I don't mean shows, I mean days ago. He had been an Airbnb host.
That was the closest we had come.
And we had an interaction, and the scope of the interaction was, hey, this nightlight in the bathroom doesn't work. Next thing you know, the man shows up and he's got a pack, like a 6-pack of nightlights, like I'm going to stick these things in every outlet in the place. That I don't remember even any other interaction with you. But I'm smarter than I look. I'm smarter than I sound, in the sense that I was strategic. I'd done enough homework, and I could tell, he had his Village Venues thing, and he was behind a microphone. He was in front of a camera enough, and he had what I don't. He's just, he's this overt extrovert, and I'm not, and I knew I needed that. So I was really intentional. I went looking for what I felt like the show that I had in my mind needed, and what I felt like I personally needed, and that was why, I pursued you. So this wasn't just some random act. This was really strategic. It was well thought out, and it turns out I was right. I knew that because I'm really intuitive. But
I'm not just the token extrovert. That's not what it is.
No, hardly. And without sounding patronizing, we wouldn't be where we are without you. There's just no.
Well, question. We wouldn't be where we are without you.
We wouldn't know. We wouldn't have had the guests. We wouldn't have had. I tell people all the time. In fact, I'll go ahead and I'll tell him Mike Varney. So Mike Varney's a guy, and we did a show, and you need to see that show too.
Very much.
And Mike, I can tell you, Mike has not seen that show. Mike's a guy who lives in McKinney, Texas, makes a golf trip over to the Village, falls in love with the place, and that same weekend he buys 61 Resplendor Way,
which is a mansion, a stunning home on Lake Balboa.
Yep, and I tell Mike, would you please register 61resplendorway.com? And so anyway, I just dog him until he does. So I haven't been over there, but anyway, yeah, it's a gorgeous piece of property. At any rate, so Mike makes this investment in the Village because he so loves the Village, and he is a golfer, and he spends an inordinate amount of time in the Village, even though he lives in McKinney, Texas. And we're sitting there, we're walking through Resplendor, and something comes up, and he's got some kind of a need, and I see Dennis over there on his phone, right? And Dennis is jacking around on his phone and stuff, and
he has a clouded window. He's got a 2-story view, and he's got a cloud in his window.
Yeah, and so anyway, so Dennis takes a picture of it, hooks him up, and and after the conversation, you know, Dennis leaves, and Ron and I are still there. We stay there like all day and well into the evening, visiting with him, and he makes a comment. He says, yeah, guys like that make the world go round. And I said, of course they do. I said, look at, you know, you and I are sitting here looking at this thing going, man, how big is that thing? I wonder what that thing will cost. Meanwhile, Dennis is over there making phone calls, just trying to make it happen, you know, hooking you up. I said, the guy's got a Rolodex to die for, which anybody that's too young isn't going to understand what Rolodex means, but our audience will get it. Yeah, so there's that. Guys like Mike and I, and he's an introvert as well. We're not socially awkward, we're not backward, and we're not shy, but we're not like you. Yeah, so, and I guess, yeah, I'll shut up after this. That right there, that diversity, that ability for two people to, okay, can we yin yang this thing? Can we, you know, can you fill in what I can't? You know, what part of the burden that I can't carry, can you carry? And what part you can or don't want to carry, can I happily carry? And I think that comes across. I hope that comes across.
I don't think people can fully grasp the depth of that. You referenced, and thank you, Randy, you're very kind. You referenced Village Venues. I loved doing my Village Venue shows on YouTube, and it was all about the Village. It was about things, and we've interviewed some of the same people, Jim and Andrea and some others. But the reason I didn't do more Village Venues is because for 30 minutes in the studio, it would take me 3 and 4 hours to process that. And I remember when we were talking about this, and you said, well, I'll do the tech. I literally thought, I'm going to jump out of my skin, hot ding dong. I've got somebody who's tech savvy, who knows what I know, who can do what I can do, probably better. And they're going to agree to do the tech stuff. And number one, they're going to cut it down to about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, but did you believe me? You probably didn't believe me if you.
I saw you, and let me be very frank. Randy said specifically that I had been, and this is true. I was going to a recording studio. We've actually got some more stuff lined up in the recording studio for another entity I do. But you said you had a broadcast facility, and I was like, okay. So I've been in studios since I was 14, and I'm like, okay, tell me more about this. And we went through the equipment, and frankly, for the last 6 months, it's been a learning experience for me to understand just how linear this is. And I'm not going to bore our audience. Randy, how long have we gone? We got an hour, what, hour 10?
Know. Who cares?
No, but I'm just saying, you will wrap this up. It's coming on 6 o'clock.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll have this wrapped up in 30 minutes after we're done, if you wish to just sit and work on it for a minute.
Yeah. The only thing I'll be waiting on is the biggest thing I'll be waiting on is the YouTube upload.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and I've got a high-speed connection, but, you know, the YouTube servers, sometimes the uploads happen faster than others. Yeah. The file has to upload, and then the file has to process, all on YouTube's side, and then they convert it. They have to process it even again to the HD, 720 HD, which is what we do it in. That's going to take 10 times longer than anything I have to do.
Amazing. And the point of the matter, we're teching out, which is another factor people don't see. We're both super techie, but the detail is, this is not put on. This is not pretend. This is literally a couple of friends who have grown a friendship over the last 6 months. Literally.
Yeah, I mean, pretty stinking close, you know. I mean, pretty stinking close friendships, but I don't know. It's kind of, there are happy accidents, you know. There is serendipity in the world, and Dennis and I both are guys that are pretty quick to say yes, because I think we're both wired in the sense that we both know that we can later change our mind and say no. We can quit. And I get that the whole world talks about, well, you know, never quit, never quit. Oh, listen, some of the biggest wins I've had are because I did quit. You know, I mean, you gotta say no to some things so you can say yes to other things. I'm glad you said yes to this. I'm glad that the audience is saying yes to this, but we desperately need you to tell a friend. We need to get to 3,000 to this.
He's shaking his fist at the microphone, people.
Yeah,
if y'all don't know,
yeah.
he's shaking
Well,
his fist at the microphone.
Get off my lawn. That's the rock throwers.
No. And by the way, the one last comment, and I know we've gone on and on and on, and thank you so much for tolerating my jacket and listening, and we appreciate it.
Well, tolerating that jacket's the least of it, but keep.
Yeah, you think, I don't know. That's pretty big. It's pretty big. Yeah. No, I was going to say, those of you who reflect back to us and let us know, give us feedback, we hear repeatedly, thank you for being positive. Thank you for being a positive voice. Thank you for not throwing rocks. One of the quotes I put on Facebook today, after you put your post, which I think was wonderful, Zig Ziglar used to say, you know, some people search for fault like there's a reward for it. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I'm going to get, look, I found a fault. I'm going to get something out of it. It's time to stop chunking rocks. Time to start cursing the darkness, and time to start lighting some candles. Amen.
Yeah, I agree. Amen. Yeah,
well, I'll tell you what.
That's what we're all trying to do here.
Well, I am Dennis Simpson for Hot Springs Village Inside Out. He just doesn't want to say it. He doesn't want to say it. He's Randy Cantrell. Happy New Year. Thank you for a fantastic half of a year. And we will see you again.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.